And at 6 o'clock, the appointed time for the meeting, I will call it to order. Mr. Shinoki, call the roll, please.
You want me to do the notice first?
Yes, please.
Something here.
How are you?
Notice a special meeting of council called by the mayor. Special meeting has been scheduled for Monday, February 5th, 2018 at 6 p.m. in the City Council Chambers, 470 East Market Street, Alliance, Ohio. Subject is to meet with representatives of the State Auditor's Office regarding the city position in fiscal caution. Signed by the mayor. It's dated January 26, 2018. That was distributed to council members, council president, safety service director, law director, auditor, members of the media, including the Alliance Review, WDPN, WDJQ, the repository, and posted on the city bulletin board.
Okay, would you call the roll, sir?
Certainly. Chair. Doherty.
Here.
Edwards.
Here.
Jacobides.
Here.
King.
Here.
Rome.
Here.
Simming. Here. We have 6 of 7.
All right, at this time, I will turn the meeting over to Mr. Knowles to introduce our guest.
Thank you, Mr. President. Most of you guys remember Nita Hendricks, who was here last May. And Nita, so you remember, we had the same council, except for one person has changed. So,
Okay, great.
yeah, exactly. A lot of you guys will recall that meeting. And then she has at least 3 other members of her office, and I'll allow you to go ahead and introduce these guys.
I will do that.
But she's basically here at our request. And we talked about last council bringing somebody into the state who's available to answer questions as we transition to something that we never mentioned before. So.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to just pass these out real quick. And make sure you guys get a copy. I'm going to send you All right. Nice to see you all again. As Kevin mentioned, my name is Nita Hendricks. I work at the State Auditor's Office. I was here a few months ago. And I brought some friends with me today. This is Una Smith. She is chief of all of LGS for the state of Ohio. And then Tisha Turner is my assistant in the Northeast region. So what doesn't come to me goes with Tisha. And we're here tonight to talk about fiscal caution and what it means and how you got here and what we need to do from now. Okay? Any questions? I'll take questions from council, the administration, but no one else. I'm just here to present to you and to answer like we did before, like we sat around and talked. And if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer anything and everything you got. Okay? In front of you are a couple pieces of paper. The first one that is on Auditor of State letterhead is actually available on our website. If you went under audit search and typed the City of Alliance, you would see this fiscal caution designation. You can see that the city was designated in fiscal caution on January 18th. So how do you get into fiscal caution? There's a few different things that can get you there. And that's in that middle paragraph, okay, that starts the Auditor of State guidelines. The first one, you see they're all numbered too, so it makes it kind of easy to follow. If you're unauditable, well, you are not unauditable. Your audits have been great, no problem, information flows, it's real good. Significant deficiencies, material weaknesses in the audit, that didn't happen. You're good, audits are good, no problem. Number 3, deficit fund balances. Well, you're not there. There were no deficit fund balances per se at the end of the year, okay? And we look at everything at the end of the year, and as that we get closer to the designation to see if there's any deficits going on in the funds. And so far, there aren't, okay? Number 4 is the one. Number 4 is the category that got the city into fiscal caution. And that's a carryover fund balance of less than 1 month's average expenditures for 2 consecutive years. What that means is, at the end of the year, you've got so much money in your fund balances, all your funds individually. And if there's not enough money to take care of 1 month of expenditures, because you got to have some carryover to take care of the bills until cash starts coming in the next year. If that's not the case, then that could make you, that's a criteria for fiscal caution. And in 2016, the city had 13 funds that didn't have that carryover. In 2017, that city had 17 funds that didn't have that carryover. So the goal of council and the administration now is to get those fund balances up so you've got enough carryover to get you into the next year until cash starts coming in the door. Make sense? Okay. So that was the criteria, and then the last one is failure to reconcile accounting journals and ledgers. That's basically saying you didn't balance your checkbook. And Kevin makes sure your checkbooks are balanced every month. So number 4 was the criteria that got you in. Okay? In order to get out, we need to correct what got you in. Simple as that. We need to correct that criteria. We need to get those fund balances up to where it's acceptable to the office that you've got enough carryover to do business in the City of Alliance. All right? I'm going to ask you now to go to that one piece of paper that I'm sure you've seen before, maybe in a different format. It's your general fund balance. So here's where we get a little concerned, okay? Your general fund in 2010 had about $3.9 million. And the reason that it had that much is because you got almost $3.5 million in estate tax that year. Since then, what happened to the estate tax? We're not getting it anymore, right? We can't count on that revenue. So this was a one-time deal up to that point. This is probably one of the last times you're going to get it. You got about $3.5 million in 2010, and thank God we did, because you can see for the next few years, we've lived off that estate tax. So in 2010, we had the 3.9. Now, the other thing we talked about last time I was here, I believe, was that income tax. How much money goes to general fund, how much money would go to the street fund, how much money goes to other funds. Well, back in 2010, 79% of your income tax was going to the general fund. Okay? Same in 11, same in 12. Well, you can see in 11, your fund balance dropped over $1 million. In 12, it dropped $1.2 million. So obviously, we can't keep up at that pace because we're going to run out of cash, right? So council decided at that time, in 2013, to make, instead of put 79% of the income tax in the general fund, to put 86% in the general fund. So you can see in 13, that helped a bit, right? Instead of deficit spending $1.2 million, we're deficit spending $400,000. But again, we can't keep deficit spending because eventually we're going to run out of cash. So in 13, 14, 15, and 16, we were putting 86%. Well then, looks like last year, after we talked, you guys moved the budget around a little bit, and you bumped it up to 91%, which helped a lot. But unfortunately, it seems like other revenues were down. Expenditures, probably, you couldn't reduce them enough to stay, and we still deficit spent about $144,000. So the first order of business, I mean, you can see how we got here, but the first order of business that the mayor has to do is a recovery plan, okay? And the number one item in that recovery plan is a balanced budget. And that's where council comes into play too, because council approves the budget. So we love to see council and the administration working closely together to come up with a good budget. The mayor, this is the mayor's plan though. It's the mayor's ideas, the mayor's going to generate things, working with Kevin to come up with a dollar amount. The mayor's going to say, okay, we want to do X and it's going to save us this much money. We want to do Y and it'll bring in this much money. Okay, it's just a bunch of ideas, whether it be revenue enhancements, expenditure reductions, a little bit of both, whatever it takes, first of all, to get a balanced budget. Okay, that's the number one. Number two, not only a balanced budget, but remember I said we have to get those balances built up. So just breaking even, unfortunately, isn't going to do the job to get you out of fiscal caution. We need to do better than that. We need to have a surplus in these funds. Okay, so we don't deficit spend, we actually have a surplus every year to start building some reserves to take care of the issue that got you in here in the first place. Okay, does that make sense? Does everybody understand? Okay, so the city went in January 18th. We figure March 19th or so, somewhere mid-March. The city has 60 days to come up with a plan. Okay? So how it's going to work is I've already met with Kevin and the mayor, the safety service director, went through some ideas of things the city can do. The mayor is going to go through, decide what he and his administration would like to do, what they'd like to see happen in the city of Alliance to turn the tide, if you will. And then they're going to present this, and then we will work with Kevin, and he's already started a 5-year forecast to kind of project, because we like to see what it looks like into the future. I misspoke, actually 3 years when you're in caution. So we like to see 3 years out that fund balance is going this way instead of this way. Okay? So that's what our goal is. And then you'll see a recovery plan presented to you along with a forecast that shows how the general fund is going. Okay? Any questions? Would anybody like anything answered? I know it's kind of thrown at you, but I think we talked before and different things that the city would be responsible to do.
You mentioned there's a 60-day window for something and there's a 120-day window for something else. What's the 120-day window?
Different. 60 days when you're in caution to come up with a recovery plan. 120 days is when you're in fiscal emergency. That's the most severe when you have a commission put in place. That's not the case in Alliance. We have 60 days though, but the time frame is shorter to come up with that plan.
Thank you.
Sure. Yes, sir.
What's the penalty if you can't get that plan together by then?
I'm glad you
The penalty is, first of all, you can ask for an extension, and based on what your reasoning is, we do grant the extension. But if you do not submit a recovery plan, by statute, we have the ability, the auditor has the ability to move you to fiscal watch.
Which means you guys run the show, right?
Not in fiscal watch.
Not in fiscal watch.
Not in fiscal
That's
watch.
the next one.
That's the next fiscal emergency. And we never run the show. That's a commission, not the state auditor.
That's right.
Yeah. The commission gets put in place.
Right.
You said it goes to emergency?
Watch. To watch. Caution first, that's where you're in.
Caution,
Then watch,
emergency.
then emergency. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Kind of like a stoplight.
So, we recently supported and voted for a levy to appear on the May ballot.
Mr. Dorian, can you
You're
put
gonna have
the
to speak
microphone up? My fear's coming through.
Sure. I'll even speak louder just for you, Jerry. Thank you. We recently passed an ordinance to put a park levy on the ballot. Supposed to raise somewhere between, I don't know exactly, somewhere between maybe maybe $7,000 which should impact the general fund somewhere in the vicinity of $600,000. Is that sufficient to answer the 60-day demand?
That'll help. That'll be a step in getting you there. Your plan usually has several ideas, several things that you would like to do. That will definitely help in getting the city a balanced budget, if nothing else, right? I mean, to take those expenditures out of the general fund and putting them in a park fund. So that would be one item. It's broken out, revenue enhancements and expenditure reductions. So that would be definitely a revenue enhancement, absolutely.
So does that mean that you are also looking for expenditure reductions in the plan?
Either or, absolutely. Whatever the city comes up with, whatever the mayor wants to do, revenue enhancements, expenditure reductions, or both, a little bit of both. Yes, ma'am.
My question would be, you said, I think I heard you right, even with reductions and all the ingredients being put into play, we still should be looking at some type of surplus.
Yes.
It will really look good, so we can move forward to the
Yes.
3-year plan. We really need to look at
Right.
a surplus, so you have to really do some minus and even.
We already gave it. There's another piece of paper that I passed out. I didn't have an extra one.
It's okay, I can get to that. I mean,
But we want to just turn it around, that's all. Instead of
Okay.
deficit spending, we need
To
to
have
not
that
spend as
surplus
much as
there.
we're bringing in. Right,
Yes, ma'am.
perfect,
I'm
yep.
with you.
All right, thank you.
There is, the problem too, we go to that 91% or whatever, no street paving, no capital expenditures. So I mean, that's how we're balancing the budget right now. And we can't do that without it.
Because
Yeah.
that definitely needs, roads need to be fixed, and you're absolutely right. You're
So
absolutely right.
that park levy, which is about 850,000, I think, that's just a portion of it. Because if we left if we went back to even the 86%, I think we were over $1 million. Was that right, Kevin?
79% would have put us $1 million more.
Yeah.
It's 86 was around 500,000.
So-
It's still about 100,000 per percentage.
So in other words, if we would get back to, we can't even get back to where we're supposed to be, at the 79%.
So again, this park levy would be a good start in the right direction. God willing, it passes. But that's one piece of the puzzle. You're right. You need some other items to get your roads, enable you to have money to get your roads fixed and to do things you want to do for the people of Alliance. But right now, there's only so much money in the pot, right? And you have to decide, you have services that you want to provide, first and foremost. And I know roads are one of them, right? We want to pave our roads, but again, there's only so much right now. So if we could build up that general fund, then that would enable us to do more capital, get some more money over there. But we got to have that general fund balance going the other way. Yes, sir.
Okay, the plan's developed, let's say, and passes council, and we submit it to you. And obviously, there will be things in the concrete, increasing fees for this amount, reducing expenses for this amount, but the levy would be something more to happen. We wouldn't know until May. So let's say theoretically we put that in, and then find out May it doesn't pass. We have to submit a revised plan, I would assume.
That's a big part of your plan, right? That's a big dollar amount. I would say yes. Yes, please. Because the goal is to get you out as quickly as possible. So if one of your big ticket items doesn't come through, we need to replace it with something.
So we do the extension at that time?
No, then we would give you X number of days probably to get it done again. And we would communicate again. We always communicate with you.
It's the big ticket item.
It is, you're right.
So if we have 60 days to come up with a plan, how quickly do we need to implement the plan? And because we had a meeting 2 weeks ago where there were a number of ideas passed around, and we even have some legislation already that won't fix our problem by any means, but are steps toward fixing it. So should we hold off on passing things? Should we do everything we can as quickly as
I would
possible?
do everything you could as quickly as possible, but we can put those ideas in the plan. And then as soon as you pass them, for sure, then we can work with Kevin and we put dollar amounts to each of those items. That gets your balance turned around that much quicker. But yes, please keep doing what you're doing, because again, everybody needs to work together to.
So all these things don't have to fall in that 60 days, you're saying?
Oh, right,
Yeah,
right. Like the levy's
yeah.
going to be a few months down the road.
Yeah.
You want to do something, maybe in the summer. We'll take that into account.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yep.
Can I just say something about your plan? When you put your plan together, make sure that what you include in your plan is your, number one, your item that you plan to do, the time frame, when do you expect it to pass or to take effect. That's how we're going to monitor whether or not you're adhering to your plan. We have to have some guidelines to go by. So if you say that you're going to put your levy on in May, it doesn't pass, then we'll know you didn't do, and everything that you go and put in that plan, we know is not going to materialize. But we really want you to put together a good faith plan with real items and real dates of implementation, and that's how we're going to monitor your plan.
Yeah. So what happens next? We submit the plan, or I'm sorry, Mayor submits the plan in 60 days in March. I assume it's either approved or you come back and say, no, not good enough.
Right.
And then so what happens next?
Then we go back to the drawing board, and we'll be told what about the plan wasn't good. And we go back to the drawing board and we tweak what we need to tweak to make it acceptable. But we're going to do our very best to make it acceptable off the jump. We're going to, like I said, the numbers don't lie, and we're going to attach a forecast with it to show that we're going in the right direction.
You will get a letter from the auditor's office stating whether or not your plan is approved. It's a written approval letter.
Being an honest, if you would walk through with me again the process that, let's see if I've got it right. The mayor and the administration develop the plan, submit it to council. So council's role then is to...
Approve the plan or disapprove the plan?
Okay, approve the plan or disapprove the plan.
Yes.
So, from that point on, then if it was approved, it goes to you guys, if it's disapproved, then the council does it.
Then it goes back to the mayor, and you tell the mayor, hey, what you don't like about it, you gotta have a reason, right, if it's disapproved. And then mayor goes back and works. Ideally, you tell the mayor, like now, what ideas you have, what you're thinking, and communicate, so that when it does come to you, and again, it will not be presented to you if it doesn't work. The numbers have to work.
And that's the main thing.
That's the main thing, the numbers have to.
So in other words, when it comes to us, you've already looked at it and
Yes.
approved it, in other words?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Other questions? Carry position, please. Once more, this is our time to ask some experts, folks. We got them up here. Well, I'm going to ask another question. Again, I'm not this. Typically, what is the average length of time it takes a district to do that? Get out of fiscal watch? City. I'm school superintendent.
No, I understand your good question. There's actually a spreadsheet on the Auditor of State website that is updated quite frequently. And it lists all the entities in caution, all the entities in watch, all the entities in emergency. And then it says, another step is when they're released. And it tells how long they've been in. So you can see, it varies. If you go gangbusters, you get these levies passed, you implement a lot of ideas and get the city turned around, it can be before the end of the year, But we need to see that action happening. We need to see it going on. Probably have to wait till year end though, to look at the numbers. So we'll wait till year end and check it out, but it can be that quickly.
Questions from council? Administration? Someone?
Yeah.
To that point, so that would be the earliest you can get out, would probably be the end of the year. I mean, that was everything ideally.
We have to see how you ended up, because we don't want it to, not that it's going to just tank, after September or whatever, but we want to make sure, because the code is kind of restrictive, and we have to look at things at year end. Yes.
Other questions? Going once? Right. Then a motion to adjourn this session is in order. Mr. Edwards? Moved. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Acquariti. I'm doing all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? No. We are.
Oh, I didn't recognize you.